When buying a condenser fan motor for the outside condenser, there are, it's simply match the horsepower up, the RPMs up, and the capacitor size. That is important. But one thing, and be careful, that's very easy to overlook when one goes into a supply house, and also try to have your model number, your serial number, and the make of your unit when entering the supply house. This way, the parts counter guy and or the tech support guy can perhaps look it up. So now, one caveat when it's fairly simple, but keep in mind when buying a condenser fan motor, one can walk into a supply house and say, "Hey, I want a motor." Well, um, case in point, one may not have slept well the night before. One may have a headache. One may just be kind of in a brain fog. Other stresses. The same thing with the supply counter. Oftentimes, sometimes at these supply houses, there are new people at the counter frequently. So, and they're not familiar. So, be sure to get the motor and make sure that you have a condenser fan motor, like so, not a blower motor. Again, quotation marks. Make sure when you need a condenser fan motor that you buy a condenser fan motor, and make sure that the inspect it before you leave to make sure that it is what you need and not a blower motor. Oftentimes it, and I shouldn't say oftentimes, let me clarify or re-clarify, but if one drives 20 miles to pick up a motor and then they drive back to the job site, it can be very, very cumbersome and very frustrating if you realize the parts counter has sold you a blower motor, not a condenser fan motor. So, question being, how would one tell the difference? Very simply, on the condenser fan motor, you have perhaps maybe 3 wires or a 4 wire system. So there should be less wires, generally speaking. I'm not sure, it's not perhaps an exact science, but say a 3 wire, you've got one, two, three, start, common, and run. Now there are universal motors that perhaps have a 4 wire. So, and the condenser fan motor, now, if the blower motor now should have more wires. The blower motor could have, say, for instance, 3 speeds plus a common, that's 4 wires, plus a start, so that could be a 5. You could have a 5 or whatnot, or plus or minus wires. So the condenser fan motor, generally speaking, should have around 3 to 4 wires. The blower motor, which is used in your squirrel cage in your blower, which is a different function, it has speed, so it should have more wires. So just check your wires. If you have a 3 or 4 wire system and it says condenser on the box, and be sure to match the horsepower, the revolutions per minute, and the capacitor. Now that is very important. And try to have your model number and serial number if possible. Some units get old, they get worn off, they get dry rotted, rain, leaves, sleet, etc. But the more data you have when you enter the supply house, the easier it will be for the supply counter to match up what you need. So when an individual needs a condenser fan motor, be sure you bought a condenser fan motor, not a blower motor, because it's very stressful to drive 20 miles, pick up a motor, drive back to the job site 20 miles. And when one does this, gets it out of the box and realizes they have the wrong motor. So just be sure it's simple things like this that can save you a lot of stress, a lot of headache, and make your job go a little bit smoother, perhaps. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.